Hi, this is Sean Dubey, Technical Director for Windows IT Pro, and I'm pleased to have with me today Mel Beckman. Mel is a Senior Technical Director with the Penton Technology Group. He has built 2 regional internet service providers and is currently president of Beckman Software Engineering, a technical consultancy specializing in large-scale, high-bandwidth networks. Hi, Mel.
Hey, Sean. How are you doing? I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be on a video chat with you after being on the phone for so many times.
That's right.
Our topic today is to talk about private cloud in the SMB, the small and medium business, versus the enterprise. I guess the first question I'd like to ask you is, how does this differ in an SMB versus an enterprise? Why would a small to medium business with perhaps a little less capital and perhaps a little less need for customization want to build a private cloud rather than use public cloud services?
Well, the big reason is you can get private clouds in a box now, which have extremely well integrated engineering, way beyond the abilities of most SMBs to do on their own, and yet are scalable. And they're the kinds of solutions that you can drop in anywhere. So you could host a private cloud on your own site, at your enterprise headquarters, or you could put it in a colo facility. And so you get a lot of the benefits of a public cloud, and at pretty modest capital expense in the beginning, well under $100,000 to get a private cloud in a box. And the nice thing about that is you still control it all. You're in charge of the reliability and the security and all the other aspects of it, which are some of the limitations of the public cloud. So for SMBs, private cloud in the box can be a super, super effective solution.
Do you think that would be a strong alternative to putting it all together from piece parts, bit by bit?
Yeah, I think the days of building a data center out of bits are over. That's what I do is I build data centers. We go put up the racks and the hardware, do all the iron work, run the cables, and I cannot compete with a private cloud package solution because the engineering's already done, so nobody is paying for any extra engineering expertise, and all the parts are sized and assembled, all as part of the package. So really what's happening in the data center world is data centers, both private ones and the co-location facilities, are turning out to be bus stops for prepackaged server solutions that are essentially private clouds in a box.
Interesting. So that would, one of the things, it would be one big upfront capital outlay, but presumably it gives you a much quicker return on investment, or certainly at least time to being operational than building it yourself.
Well, here's the big advantage of the public cloud. I can spin up a server tomorrow for 20 cents, and I pay 20 cents an hour for a reasonably sized server. But that works out to, hundreds of dollars a month for a complex of any given size. Mm-hmm. The public cloud has been getting cheaper, but the private cloud's been getting cheaper too. So those two curves aren't actually merging. And what that means is that if you have the money, it's cheaper in the long run to build it yourself or buy your own private cloud hardware. Mm-hmm. If you don't have any money, as is the case with many startups, then the public cloud is a huge boon because you can get going today, and then when you get money, then you can buy your own infrastructure.
So the thought perhaps being to use some kind of an infrastructure as a service, put your VMs up in there, and as you're able to build your own private cloud, migrate them down to the private cloud, or?
Yeah, in fact, what a really great model is to start out in the public cloud. You're a small company. You've got, basic services that you need to spin up. And then as you get bigger, you're going to need resilience. So you're going to need to have a safe haven for this stuff. So you set up an alternate site. Well, you could set up an alternate site in another public cloud, but now you've still got a lot of the issues with security and control. Mm-hmm. Or you could make your alternate site yourself, your own home headquarters, or a co-location facility somewhere other than Amazon or Azure or wherever you're hosting your public cloud. Now you've got resilience because you're not dependent on any one thing. I love the public cloud, but its reliability is what I call 2 nines, basically. There have been multi-day outages in every public cloud. And that means that, you got to protect yourself. Nothing bad about that. You're getting a good deal for what's delivered, but the public cloud shouldn't be expected to be a 5 nines facility. And someday maybe, but not yet.
Are there any driving business drivers for SMBs that are different than when we talk about the standard, drivers when we're talking about enterprises?
Well, an enterprise, they're trying to reduce labor because the private cloud lets them give their customers and empower their departments to spin up workloads, virtual machines, and things on their own. The SMB is going to have a small IT staff. They're going to stay in control. They're going to be spinning up all the workloads. But the private cloud makes that a lot simpler because it has automated a huge number of tasks that you used to have to do. In a traditional data center, when someone needed a new VLAN, we had to bring in the network engineers. They had to probably string some cables. They had to reconfigure 20 switches. That's in a small network. Well, with a private cloud, the end user or the small IT department simply clicks on a box, create a new VLAN, and it's automatically propagated throughout the cloud. So it's a huge labor advantage for the small guy, but they're not really going to use it to save immediate labor. They're just going to use it to speed their provisioning processes.
That makes a lot of sense. In the small company that I worked in for a few years, it was basically one IT guy. And of course, the one IT guy does everything from dragging cables to fixing notebooks and everything else in between. And the idea of being able to provision and actually life cycle virtual machines, for example, would be really great. We had a big problem with the developers that always wanted to spin up new VMs and never wanted to get rid of anything. So.
Well, and a cool side effect of this is who needs any IT people? You could outsource the management of your private cloud, especially if it's at a colo facility somewhere. There are a lot of organizations that hover around colocation facilities to provide remote hand support, and you can retain those guys to run your private cloud for you. And that can be another cost saver. And then technology refreshes is another great reason. I just saw where a company came out with a private cloud in a box package for about $50,000 that has all SSD drives to give you extremely fast performance. And it's aimed at companies that need to do streaming video and audio, and so they have to have that kind of performance. But the fact that you can buy that technology and upgrade that from old hard disk technology by just swapping out racks, that's pretty powerful. And in a colo facility, this kind of stuff is done all the time. People bring in a technology refresh package, and then they just copy the data over, from one rack to another.
Well, Mel, thanks. I appreciate your insights, and I'm sure we'll be talking again in the future.
Great to talk to you, Sean.
Bye.
Take care.